Some conversations end in minutes. But somehow, years later, one sentence returns. Not the whole day, not the whole person, just one tone, one pause, one look, and the mind plays it again. Sometimes while walking alone, sometimes before sleep, sometimes in the middle of an unrelated day. Why does that happen? Why do some conversations disappear completely while others stay alive inside the mind for years? The first reason is simple. The mind does not store words equally. It stores emotional impact. A sentence becomes powerful when it touches something already sensitive inside you. Sometimes it touches self-worth, sometimes regret, sometimes fear that you were misunderstood. That is why a very ordinary sentence can remain powerful for one person and mean almost nothing to another. Because the sentence is not replaying alone, it is replaying together with what it touched. Psychology calls part of this rumination. Rumination means the mind returns to the same thought repeatedly, not because it enjoys it, but because something still feels unfinished. The mind behaves almost like it believes. If I replay this enough, maybe I will finally solve it. But most of the time, it is not solving, it is circling. This persistent loop is driven by a principle known as the Zeigarnik effect. Named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, it describes our brain's deep-seated discomfort with unfinished tasks. To your mind, an unresolved conversation is an open circuit. It demands power. It demands attention. It will continue to hum in the background of your consciousness until the circuit is closed. And often, what feels unfinished is not the conversation itself. It is the answer you never gave, the sentence you thought of later, the explanation that arrived too late. Many memories stay alive because internally, the conversation never fully ended. One part of the mind still stands there, still answering, still defending, still correcting. But often, the one keeping the circuit open isn't the other person. It is your own internal critic. This is the voice that forensic analyzes every syllable, looking for where you failed, where you were weak. The critic doesn't want peace. It wants a different past. And as long as you allow it to prosecute an old case, the trial will never end. Sometimes the mind replays not because the moment was dramatic, but because it was unexpectedly revealing. That creates what neuroscience calls a prediction error. Surprise creates stronger memory than routine. That is why sometimes one quiet sentence stays longer than a loud argument, because the quiet sentence changed something silently. Sometimes replay also becomes a form of emotional protection. If a moment hurt deeply, the mind returns again and again, trying to reduce future vulnerability. Almost as if it says, "Study this carefully." But over time, repeated replay creates an illusion. It makes old moments feel unfinished even when life has already moved far ahead. Because repetition keeps memory fresh, and fresh memories feel current. That is why certain conversations from years ago can suddenly feel like yesterday. Not because they are still happening, but because the mind kept reopening the same room. How do we finally close the door? It begins with acknowledging that the answer you never gave is no longer needed. The past is a locked room, and you are the only one still holding the handle. Closure isn't found in a better comeback or a late explanation. It is found in understanding the sensitive point the conversation touched. When you identify the wound, the memory loses its power. You stop replaying the sentence and start healing the person. The turning point begins when replay changes its question. Instead of asking, "What should I have said?" ask, "What exactly did this moment touch inside me?" Some memories stay because they became important to your inner story. And healing begins when you realize the mind was never trying to remember the conversation. It was trying to understand you. If this made you pause, subscribe now to Behavior Lab. Because sometimes one unnoticed mental pattern explains years of experience. Sometimes the mind repeats something until you finally hear what it was trying to say.